Hi, I'm Kymberley Carter-Paige and I'm a coach and clinical hypnotherapist. I teach people how to take back their minds from the programs that have been installed in them. I hope that you can stay with me for the next 15 minutes where I can offer you some tools for a calmer life.
Kymberley, I said in the last little piece of advice or talk that we had that we would talk about Agenda 2030, which a lot of people are still not aware of. I remember feeling shocked in Jacinda Ardern's first term in New Zealand as Prime Minister when I just heard a small item on the news that she'd signed us up to something and thinking, I never remember any discussion on that. So for people who don't want perhaps or don't have the time or the capacity to go into it too deeply, why should every mother and father who wants a better future for their child be aware of what Agenda 2030 has in store and what, to your mind, is at the heart of Agenda 2030?
Well, the heart of Agenda 2030, as people that know about it, is about control, and it's about breaking up the family unit because for whatever reason, this is where your trans is coming in. This is where, the gay, lesbian, the rainbow community has all come from, is breaking up that family unit. And also, women and men as mothers and fathers not knowing where their place is in the household anymore. I mean, fathers are now meant to be, able to look after the children as equally as the wife, which is fine, but changing the nappies, being there emotionally as well as physically, but then they lose their role because they're meant to be the man of the house, the protector, the wage earner, and yet women are saying, oh, don't raise your voice at me, don't be strong, this I don't like that behavior, I want you to be more empathetic. And then you've got the women that want to stay at home and look after the children, or maybe some of the men do, but they're not able to because financially they can't. So they're having to put the children into daycare, work all day, come back home exhausted. The children have got a couple of hours where both parents are exhausted, and they're on their phones because they're actually in survival mode, can't really relate to the children, the way they should, to help them grow. And so it's a vicious cycle. The children are really not getting the help that they need to grow themselves and to interact as family unit, and they're not being a male female role. They're trying to both cover both roles, so nobody really knows where they're at.
Everything's got really confused, and then you add in, yes, as you say, all of the economic pressures just to keep above board with the huge inflation and the interest rates on houses, the trying to keep a roof over their heads. And I would add in there too, I think white males are particularly under assault under Agenda 2030. So there's this constant theme that if you even talk about the vast rates of migration into our countries, you look at England, it's been completely overwhelmed with Islamists from other countries who appear to be young men of fighting age, who don't have children, who don't have wives. There is something very sinister about what's going on in England to break down the whole society. But it's white males who are always being called racist and privileged when they're not racist or privileged at all. So Agenda 2030 seems to be very anti-human, anti-humanitarian to me.
And to breaking up and going back to England, they've got Sharia law in some places, which means that women have zero rights whatsoever. They could be raped and yet they will then be stoned because it's their fault.
Yes.
And the courts won't even see a woman fighting for herself because they have no rights under Sharia law. And we've got Muslim mayors in London and in Bristol and places like that that again are just pushing for that. So it's a Christian country, yet these people are coming over, as you say, from men fighting age and wanting the white women to be treated the same way as they treat the Muslim women.
Yes.
And the whole Christian family unit is actually not allowed anymore. And they've actually taken away Christian flags, English flags. They've arrested people for showing them, but they're allowed to show the Muslim flags. And it's sort of happening here too. I mean, outside Parliament at the moment, we've got the LGBT flags. Did you know about that?
I did know
Yes.
that.
So yes.
That's as if it's an official part
Basically,
of running
this is
the government.
who we are, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're New Zealand's and we're LGBT.
Yeah.
And if you talk to gay and lesbian people, and I don't have anything against their sexual preference, they don't want the trans and the grooming, because basically the flag of the rainbow flag is the grooming flag. It's about paedophilia. It's not about sexual preference. It's trying to bring in the sexual preference of minor attracted persons, which means you're attracted to children, and they're trying to say that that's okay. And our lesbian and gay people are standing up against this now, and they're saying this LGBT flag is about grooming, and they can see it, we can see it, but the government's going along with it.
It's so significant. I mean, this all ties in with this breakdown of the family unit. We look at Prince Charles. I still call him Prince. He's certainly not my king. But at Easter, he's talking about the Islamic religion, not even honouring the church, and he's meant to be the defender of the faith. We've had this very rapid breakdown over the last decade since Helen Clark of faith in New Zealand, of the Christian faith. They are very frightened of God or any power of God. Are we in a spiritual war of good and evil, ultimately, in your view?
Oh, definitely. Well, if you look at the music industry, you know, everything's bright red, everything's blood, everything's, you know, satanic. And even a lot of the Hollywood music industry and actors have even admitted that they sold their soul, you know, in order to become famous. So there is a lot of that going on. And with my clients, you know, that have been through ritual abuse, they know that it's going on.
Have you had clients?
Yes, yeah. So it's definitely going on, and to which level, how much, I think it's beginning to come out now. But we need to be standing up against this, because this is our children that are growing up to be taught that that's okay, and it's not okay.
Do those clients who are involved with that, or have been involved, do they say it is widespread in a country like New Zealand? Because I agree with you, in America, you just look at any of them. Lady Gaga, she's awash with satanic symbology. That ridiculous Taylor Swift, you can see she sold her soul right out. But is it widespread in New Zealand?
It's pretty widespread. Paedophilia is big in New Zealand. Yeah, and the thing is, if you notice, if you look at any paedophiles that are actually convicted, and only like 2% are, the rest of them are set free for whatever reason. And I've had clients that have gone to court, and you know, and you think, well, they've got every chance of winning. There's no way they won't win, and they don't. Then they get an ankle bracelet. Yet somebody that has, like Barry Young, that is fighting for us, is showing the truth. They're going to imprison him for what, 7 years they were, you know, talking about? Yet a paedophile who has damaged children, and it's been proven, will get an ankle bracelet and name suppression.
That's extraordinary. And that's Barry Young on the excess deaths, the Ministry of Health's data, our people's data, which shows excess deaths. A really brave whistleblower. When you work with people who have gone through satanic ritual abuse, it just seems unimaginable first when you come across it, that humans would want to carry on like this. How redeemable is that? Have you had success through hypnotherapy?
They take a lot longer. They lead a lot more sessions. And I think the biggest thing that upset me the most is when I tend to teach them to relax, because they're just so tense, obviously, because every little thing they're not safe.
From childhood, they have not been safe.
Yeah.
You often talk about those first 7 years as so essential for a child's well-being for the rest of their lives, and those 7 years have been absolutely compromised.
Yes, but a lot of it they don't remember, because that's locked away, but they just know that they're not safe. And I said to one of them, right, I'm just gonna really relax you. I'm just gonna talk about relaxing every muscle. We're just gonna let you, you know, just relax and just go into your safe place. And she said, I don't know what that is. I've never, ever been safe.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize that we've really got to start right from the bottom.
What do you do then?
Then it is a case of we just talk, allow them to do the self-hypnosis with their eyes open so that they can constantly scan the room and know that nothing's going to come in, nothing's going to surprise them. And then after a while, they feel that safety to allow themselves to drift and close their eyes and listen. And then we use the delete all the time, you know.
Talk about the delete. We talked about that in an earlier one of our programs.
Yeah.
Talk about that again.
So as soon as they get that feeling of something's going, it's just delete, you know, eradicate, erase, eliminate through time, space, and reality. Just get rid of that feeling. But I also take them to, I ask them to imagine, like a child, imagine a place where you could feel safe. Imagine what would, maybe a dog would be with you, maybe there would be a tiger outside the door, or what, you know, just create, use your imagination as much as possible. And then we use the OK symbol, and I ask them to put their thumb and their finger like this when they're in that space. And then whenever they feel that they're not safe, they just have to do this. And the subconscious mind remembers that sight, that scene, and allows the body to calm and for them to feel safe again.
That's interesting, because someone sent me something about, I think it's Freemasonry, which is a very evil cult in itself. But I think that is one of the signals. And it's really confusing. They say that President Trump is doing it when I think he puts hands together like that.
Space Force, isn't it?
I don't know all of those signals, but I think that one is a signal that's involved with Freemasonry. And it's confusing because many people, like me, I use my hands a lot, but obviously I've never been a Freemason. I don't even think women can be. But these lies get told, these lies get perpetuated just because of somebody using signaling with their hands. So that's an interesting one because, yeah, I would use that, or I'd use that.
Yes, okay, I'm okay.
Yes, I'm okay.
And again, the program is depend on what your program is.
Yes.
So if a Freemason has been programmed that means something to them, it would be different to what you have programmed this to mean to you. So again, it's getting the subconscious mind to say, when I feel this, then it takes me back to that safe place. So you can program any symbol as to what it means to you.
Of course.
And like when I say to people when they do a vision board, you know, if they're trying to create a change, the subconscious sees in images and emotion. Words don't mean anything. It's how it feels and what you create in your head. And then that becomes the reality. The subconscious does not know the difference between imagination and reality. Because if you close your eyes and imagine that like if you were frightened of spiders, there's a big spider hanging from the ceiling and it's about to drop on you, your body will go into fight, flight, or freeze. Even though you know you're sat there perfectly safe and there's no spider there on a conscious level. Because you're thinking those thoughts in your head, your subconscious will create that barrier protection straight away. So depending on what you program that to do is how it will make you feel.
Have you helped anybody get past something like a fear of spiders?
Flying is the main one. Yeah, people have a fear of flying. But I say to them, they say, will you help me get rid of my fear of heights? And I go, no, because I don't want you standing on top of the Eiffel Tower and going, yay, I'm going to jump. But I'll help you get rid of your irrational feeling of heights, fear of heights, or your irrational feeling of flying, you know, so that you can think on a level that right here I'm safe because of this, rather than, every height is safe.
So you can really help people get past the fear of flying. I've known people who've had that.
Yes, yeah.
So again, is that revisiting the original point at which that fear developed?
And I had a client again, people say, oh, well, I've always flown and I don't know why suddenly I became afraid of flying. And one client I had, we asked the subconscious mind to go back and there was nothing on a plane, but she was working in an office one day and she saw someone on one of these fire exits on a building opposite fall down these steps. And it just frightened her so much that she suddenly had a fear of heights, and the subconscious connected it to flying because it was heights. And that was where the root was. So once we cleared that, she was actually fine. So again, we might not know where it comes from on a conscious level, but the subconscious does.
Let's talk about that again for people who may not have watched our earlier series, although we'll link them underneath. So what you do is take people into the subconscious mind, which the conscious mind is often not aware of. It's like a library of memories, thoughts, assumptions. And then you can go and take that file down,
open that file and see, because the subconscious sees the bigger picture. Everything you've ever experienced throughout your whole life is like in a filing cabinet. But on a conscious level, you haven't got the brain capacity to remember all that, and you don't need to. You know, you've learned lessons from those. But when asked on a conscious level to recall it, like if you have a lot of people that have car accidents, they say they don't remember what happened because the subconscious has gone, oh, you know, that wasn't very nice, I'll take that. And I'll just warn you now every time something similar is looking like it's going to happen. So they don't need to open that. But when they need to deal with something, then, and you ask the subconscious to go back to the very first time, then you can clear it, because the subconscious always knows, even if you don't know on a conscious level.
It must be incredible when someone who's been really scared to go up in a plane no longer has that fear.
Yeah.
It must be like coming out of a prison.
Yes.
So getting back to Agenda 2030, what it feels like to me is it's a form of a prison planet that these psychopathic people who have come up with this idea, from Tedros at the World Health Organization, or the people at the UN, the people at the World Economic Forum under Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, these sorts of people, and many, many others, unfortunately, have fallen in with it. They think they can have the world, the few can have the world, while the many have nothing. This can engender a lot of confusion and fear and pain in people, even to the point of blocking it out and not thinking about it. How do you advise people deal with that level of psychopathic behavior that really is controlling our world at the moment and is trying to have a go? It's a form of warfare.
Yeah. Well, basically, it can't happen if not everybody complies. The only way it can happen is that everybody agrees to it.
Yeah.
And too many people now are aware and they're not having it. So I believe that the reason we are not locked down, the reason we don't have mandatory vaccinations now, is because so many people went, actually, no. And the more that say no, the more will question why they've said no. And the more will open up and stand against it. And that's what it needs, because in order for these things to work, they have to have everybody complying. They can pick off half a dozen, 12 maybe. But if you've got 30,000 people not complying, it's not going to work.
Or 30 million or 300 million.
Exactly, yeah. How can it work?
So I think we'll talk about that next time, the power of the word no to help people feel really powerful in their own lives, and how you get past that hesitation, that initial hesitation, that what if I say no and people don't like me? What if I say no and I'm hurt? But the power of that word no in the right place is so good for human psychology, isn't it?
Definitely.
We'll talk about that. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.